So if you have access to see us there, please, by all means, do follow along via the shared screen. Just a reminder, as usual, this is a recorded session. Please mute your line if you are not speaking. Do feel free to leverage the wonderful chat box feature where my colleague, my rib, if you will, James, because you are so helpful here, will be in the chat box answering any questions that you guys have in real time. James, anything with the chat box?
Hey guys, so as this is actually a new one, a new format a little bit. So, but as Lauren goes through it, feel free to shoot any questions in the chat box as well. If while Jim is going through his presentation, if you guys have any questions, we will open the floor at the end for questions, but feel free to leave your question in the chat box and we'll get to it after Jim has done his presentation.
Awesome, awesome. So following Jim's formal presentation, we have some pre-submitted questions for him. Then we have a Q&A, open floor, if you guys have anything you want to ask verbally. And then finally, if we have time, we will end with the Zoom breakout rooms where you guys go into small rooms with fellow hosts. You guys can chit chat about whatever you'd like to cover. Just a couple of general reminders on I'm getting a little, there we go. A couple of reminders with regards to Swimply. Again, if you guys are transitioning towards these fall and winter listings, remember, use creative ways to leverage your space. Instead of just a normal outing at a pool, think about ambiance lighting, barbecues and beverages, movie nights, campouts. And then up here we have romantic date nights, spa nights as well, just to get the wheels turning. Now, some of you may also be opting to not only leverage your pool in the cooler months, you may also be looking to use alternative outdoor spaces. Here are a couple of examples. We have what we call a sport court on the left. That's basketball, tennis, and other various uses. In the middle, we have like a playground space or a jungle gym type space. And then to the right, we're starting to see these very cool, it's like a pet type space. So again, if you have things like this that work for you and you'd be willing to rent it out, please, please, please go ahead and submit for our wait list for Joy Space. You guys probably aware JoySpace is our newer sister platform, which is currently in beta mode. However, if you have a non-pool option that you want to rent out, like I discussed in the previous slide, all you need to do is go to swimply.com, top right corner, drop down list, select JoySpace waitlist. From there, you'll click join the owner waitlist. You'll answer a few questions, and when the time is appropriate, Swimply will reach back out to you about having you participate as a beta host user on JoySpace. So definitely let us know there. If you are opting to keep your pool open through the winter months, please make sure you winterize your listing. So that's going to be things that I've discussed on other webinars, making sure your pictures are reflecting good space in totality outside of just the pool. Mention in your title if you're heated and what are you heated to. Make sure you adjusted your schedule, your calendar as need be. And once that is all done, send an email to james@swimply.com. Once he can confirm that it is properly winterized, then we will go ahead and make sure that you are one of our targeted pools as we proceed to do paid advertisements through the fall and winter. So definitely take a look at that. If you want to be one of our winter spotlighted pools, please email priam@swimply.com. That is our head of marketing. She'll ensure that you guys are showcased appropriately. So just wanted to call those couple of items out. Now, This is a newer topic, and we will have time at the end during Q&A if you guys have any follow-up questions for us. But if you are amongst some of our higher revenue generating hosts, you probably received this email about becoming a Swimply shareholder. So the criteria is listed in the email. Please look it up. I think the subject line is invitation to become a Swimply shareholder. And we as hosts are getting first options to invest $1,000 per host on behalf of Swimply. So definitely follow the instructions in the email if interested. We can talk about that a bit. Follow the instructions in the email if interested. Now, my last point before I pass it to Jim, just wanted to share with you guys the awesome numbers for September. We'll get October to you shortly, but the September top earning hosts, we have it both by dollars as well as by number of bookings. Here on the dollar side, we see Neil from New Jersey, $12,000. Jim B, who's here with us, over $10,000. Tone in Washington State, almost $9,000. Rachel W, California, over $8,000. And Ann and Steve in Burbank almost made it to $8,000. Congratulations. Now, just as important as earning dollars is the number of bookings that you've secured as well, because as you guys all know, it's not just about making money, but it's also about having a greater impact to your community and being able to share in the wonderful experiences of pools and backyard spaces with those of our neighbors who may not be able to do so. So with that, we have Heather with 127 bookings in Washington, D.C. That is awesome, awesome. Lisa and Rob out of Portland with 67 bookings. Guess who's on both lists, guys? Yes, you guessed it. Jim B with 65 bookings in September. Rebecca with 63. And Stuart D, also out of California, with 58 bookings. So I just wanted to get those numbers in front of you guys. I think mostly everyone here is probably a more advanced or more experienced host, but what great success these folks have made. And I also think that is probably a nice segue for me to introduce the wonderful, he's been featured on Good Morning America amongst a ton of other platforms, the Jim Battan, to talk us through his experience with hosting on Swimply. So we'll get into a bit about him. He'll tell us his secrets to success, some of the challenges he's experienced, what his plans are for the winter. He'll talk us numbers and his own earnings breakdown, and we'll get to that Q&A. With that, Jim.
Thank you, Lauren. Jim Battan up here in Portland, Oregon. I have several co-hosts around the Portland area that have been quite successful. You saw Stu on there as the number 5 in terms of number of hosts. And then Rob and Lisa with the Bluetopia, they also have a very successful pool. They've been in the top 5 several times this year. So Portland just seems to be a wonderful market for Swimply. We have had great success up here. We have lots of outdoorsy type people that are intrepid and are willing to come out in the cold, rainy, dark days of winter and come out and enjoy a warm pool. So that's really good news for us here in Portland. I know it's a lot different demographic and market type in some other parts of the country, like the Southern California and Florida, where there are lots and lots of pools. Everybody has a pool. Portland is relatively pool-less. There are just, I would say about 400, 500, I think, pools around the Portland area, of which only about 45 or 50 are on Swimply. When I started over a year ago, there were many fewer. There were probably 5, maybe 6 pools. So it was kind of a captive market, which was nice. But Paradise is the name of the pool. Pool 8401 is where you can find it. So swimply.com/pool details/8401. And you can take a look at my listing and feel free to crib notes from it if you want. And so all of these pictures were taken professionally by a Swimply photographer. The ones that I had were really so-so. So these are some great photos. I do have on my to-do list to add a whole bunch more photos by sending them into host care. We'll get around to that. I have a kind of mid-sized pool. If I would have designed my pool after having a Swimply hosting experience, I would have designed it a little bit differently. Made it a little bit larger, longer, that is. The width is not so bad at 18 feet, but 26 feet is kind of shallow, kind of short for lap swimmers. And I do have 2 regular lap swimmers, and they come and they do about 5-6 strokes, and they get to the other side and they flip and they do it again. And they do that 45 minutes straight. So I'm not quite sure how they do that, but they do enjoy it. They've been back 20, 30 times now. So I do have some regulars, that's for sure. So I live on next slide, please. I live on a 2-acre farm, gentleman's farm, with my wife, Lisa, and we have 3 daughters between us. And in the background there, you see our custom designed barn. So we designed and built both the barn and the pool right after we moved in about almost 9 years ago now. And we have lots and lots of animals back there. It's a rescue farm, so they're all rescues from around the state. Lisa's on the speed dial of many animal sanctuaries and rescue organizations and sanctuaries and such. And so they're always trading animals back and forth. So we have all kinds of things back there. We have right now goats and pigs and llamas and ferrets and squirrels and opossums and rabbits. And we've had cows, donkeys, no zebra yet. We're working on that. We have had raccoons, which are really fun. We've had a 2-toed sloth, which is now at the Oregon Zoo. So that, as you'll see, that is my secret weapon for my pool's success. I would say about half of the families that come out, they get all excited about the animals, and we do an animal tour afterwards for many of them. And in fact, many of the families come back later and volunteer at the barn and help maintain it, because it's a lot of work. So Lisa and I share duties. She does basically the bathroom cleaning in between visits. She sets up all the amenities. We have way too many toys and such, and chairs and all that, and they always get discombobbled. And she does the greetings when people show up. And then I do all the bookings with the platform and take care of all the equipment and the water balance, et cetera. And then I always say goodbye. So when somebody leaves, I always pop my head out the door and say, how was your visit? You know, I always use those exact words. How was your visit? Even if they've been here 3 or 4 times, I still want to hear where it was. And that way I can see if there are any issues going on that I need to know about. Well, you know, for some reason the jet wasn't working for a little bit or whatever. So our typical guests are very much families, especially while the schools were closed due to COVID. We had lots and lots of small families, typically the 2 parents and 2 or 3 kids, and the kids were always, you know, between infant and teens. And the family just generally wanted to get out of the house because they've been cooped up because of COVID. So we got a ton of that. And then we have quite a few that are just friends getting together, a lot of birthday and graduation parties towards the end of the summer. And like I said, just 2 regular lap swimmers, and probably only about 10 to 15 other families that I would call regulars. Quite a few repeat visitors. We do no advertising. We have no social media, no Instagram of our pool, that kind of thing. We have never advertised. We've never asked anybody to tell their friends, anything like that. It's all been word of mouth, which is pretty cool. And likewise, we've never asked anybody to give us a review, but we have gotten 277 so far, which have all been 5-star. There was a 3-star review on there. Don't tell anybody, but we got rid of it. She was a difficult customer, shall we say. One of the other great things about the location that we're in is that we are not in city limits. We are not part of an HOA, and our neighbors are forgiving on one side and loud on the other. So our neighbor immediately to the right in this picture, their kids are really into motorbikes. So in the back behind the barn there is a motorbike dirt track. And they're out there during the summertime with their motorbikes. And they were, the nice thing is that in the last 2 years before Swimply, they went off to college. And so we don't get that anymore. But man, it was so loud for most of the summer. So now this is my payback to them. But I hear about on the Facebook group, lots of people complain, well, my neighbors, don't like all the noise. And I can certainly understand that because I have one of the top volume in the country and I get a lot of loud families going through here and I let them play the music as loud as they want and all that. So it is very fortunate that we're in that kind of environment. Next slide. So some of our secrets to success, I'm not going to share them all because I am competitive. Generally, I heard this quote from a customer last week that we are a cut above many of the other pools that they've been to. They've been to actually even some in California. And they said that, yeah, they're all pretty nice. And, I definitely give them 5 stars, but yours is just that touch better. So it is a high-end pool. When I talk to my pool builder and my pool maintenance companies, they all say you've got more equipment and stuff and features and, special kinds of tile, et cetera, that nobody else has. So it is a very nice pool. I must say, I do love it. I thought it cost way too much when I put it in, but it's definitely been worth it. Four Seasons hospitality is something that I strive to provide to the customers. I have been to a number of nice hotels around the world, and I try to get their tactics ingrained in me in understanding who my customer is and how they'd like to be treated. And so it's remembering people's names, it's remembering their preferences, it's greeting them politely, it's even how I present myself in my pool, staying upright, eye contact, all that kind of stuff is, I think, very important to establish that dialogue with your customers. We do keep the place very clean. I'm quite anal, and I will spend 5 minutes getting one pine needle out of the bottom of my pool if that is something that I notice. So I have been to a few of the other pools around the Portland area, and they are good, but they do have a couple issues here and there. And so I spend a lot of time, as was quoted in the article in the journal, I think, that I get up at 5 a.m. to scoop leaves. It's usually pine needles. We have lots of pine trees around us, and so it's constant battle, especially with a lot of the wind that we've been having lately. One of my other secrets is quick and polite communication. So via the text messaging on the app itself, people are always querying, say, I'm thinking about getting a booking for my bar mitzvah. And so I will immediately get back to them as soon as I can. I do have a day job too, but I'm up at all hours and I do a number of 2 a.m. communications with customers sometimes about what they're looking for and whether I can accommodate it and what we can do to help make their birthday party a success or whatever it is. I do have a CRM, customer relationship management little system. It's not a real package like Salesforce or something, but basically I take the calendar out of Swimply, put it into my own calendar, and then add a bunch of notes. So half the time the booking comes across as their first name is actually listed as their last name. So I learn what their first name is. I put that in my database. I learn what their kids' names are, all their preferences, whether they want the waterfall on or off when they show up, whether they like the bubbles, what temperature they like the spa, whether they need electrical cord for their, I have a couple of high-risk kids that come in, they need heaters built into their wheelchairs, that kind of thing. So I have that available for them when they show up. All that kind of stuff. I try to remember. Some of them like are teachers and the school doesn't get out till 15 after, so they're always 20 minutes late, and I just know that, and I always let them stay an extra 20 minutes after the end of the session so they get their full hour or 2 hours in. I have a lot of amenities, just pool toys out the gazoo, and I replace them all the time. So we have these aerobic water weights, and the kids love to chew on them and make a little dents in them, and I end up just throwing away and buying another set about every 2 to 4 weeks. And it's crazy waste of $20, terrible environmental impact, but it doesn't look very good for the thing to be all chewed up. I don't charge for 90 degrees in the pool. I was very concerned about the cost of natural gas and all that, and I always kept my pool at 82, and I felt like that was comfortable. And then I boosted up to 85, and wow, that's really nice. That's a big change. And then I got a request one day for 90, and I thought, that's ridiculous. There's no way I'm going to do 90. And my wife convinced me to do it, and we haven't gone back since. It's like bath water. It's really nice. The people love it. In fact, just yesterday, I overheard them saying, "This is the warmest pool we've been in," because it actually was 94 due to a programming error on my part. So that makes a big difference in the coolness of Portland winters. I also pride myself on my flexibility. So if people hit traffic and they're 20 minutes late, I let them stay 20 minutes extra. I don't require that they not be wearing lotion, or that they shower beforehand, or that they clean up the toys afterwards. It's like 90% of the people do the right thing. And I really appreciate that. There are 10% of the people that are just pain in the butt, but I just deal with it. And it's, I don't mention anything. It's like, okay, I'll go retrieve the 42 toys that you left at the bottom of the pool, and I'm just going to take care of that for you. And so I always mark that in the CRM too. And Lisa really hates that thing. She always likes to mention it, wants to mention it, but I don't let her do that. I just take care of it. We do lots of free reschedules. People have work conflicts. We have some ER nurses, that kind of thing. And they frequently need to reschedule last minute. And that's really a pain for us, because of course that's a lost booking. But I never deny somebody that. If they need to reschedule for whatever reason it is, the child got sick that morning, whatever, I always say, well, just let me know when you want to come back, and I'll schedule in for a free revisit. I do have a satisfaction guarantee that's now in writing. It's always been in place, but that's why I ask at the end, how was your visit? If they ever say anything like, well, the construction noise next door, or we had people chopping down trees a few months back that was very noisy for a couple of days, and I ended up giving 3 parties return visits for free. We do have our unfair advantage of lots of cute animals. And the one thing that's peace of mind for me that contributes to my success and my less worry than what it would be otherwise, having so many people traipse through a dangerous backyard, is the video security system. Having that ability to go back and look at records about, oh, well, the kid was running, and that's why they slipped and fell on the pool deck and hurt themselves, or this is why the person slipped on the steps going into the pool, or whatever. And so I feel much better about that, having the video system. So it's a hardwired LoRax system, high-end, 4K video, night vision, cameras everywhere. So I get everything, from them parking the cars, walking around the building, 3 different perspectives in the backyard, all that kind of stuff. Next slide. Challenges. I've had a lot of challenges, and jumping down to the last bullet, this is not easy, being this high volume and doing all this, but it's worth it. It's good. It's just a lot of work. So of course, there are some things you just can't get around. We had a historic ice storm here in Portland, Oregon, just terribly devastating to the trees around. We ended up chopping down a number of trees, and we had just branches everywhere, and some of the branches were embedded this far into the ground. They would come down out of a 50-foot tree, and they could have killed a number of people. It was crazy. We have lots of power outages up here on the mountain. I'm out in the country, and so we don't have necessarily the same facilities. So I do now have a generator, so I can power all the pool equipment, but the power whip for the transfer switch is just 20 feet from the pool, and it's terribly loud. So I only do that if somebody wants to continue their visit during an outage. Otherwise, I just reschedule them. We had terrible wildfires last week, and AQI got up to 477, the worst in the world. And that was terrible for a number of days. A lot of people with young kids canceled. I've had so many equipment failures. Just the cover would stop working halfway being opened, and so I had to cancel 3 or 4 visits. The heater's gone out 4 times. I've probably put $3,000 in repairs in the old heater, and I just bought a new heater for $5,000. My filters had a number of issues. The automatic valves have had issues. Programming has had issues. Gaskets have been leaking. I had a big flood in my equipment room, and on and on. I've become quite handy in replacing things. I have a high volume turnover. So we do have lots of bookings. Typical day for us during the summer is 4 to 6 bookings of 1 to 3 hours. And that's a lot of work. So we sanitize the bathroom top to bottom, Clorox cleanser, get down our hands and knees, scrubbing behind the toilet, every single visitor. And it's a lot of work. So it's good that Lisa helps me out with a lot of that. Maintaining the water balance, very difficult in a high load environment. It really changes the chemical balance. So there's all kinds of stuff I've had to learn about enzymes and special filters and things that really help out. The weather, if you're in Portland, Oregon, 40% of our days are rainy. And I noticed in the T's and C's on Swimply site, it says in certain circumstances, such as rain, we should cancel. But indeed, during the winter time around here, for the most part, it is raining and people just get used to it. In fact, a number of people have been here during hail. There hasn't been lightning because if there is lightning, which is pretty rare for Portland, I do make them leave. But hail is actually pretty cool, be under the umbrella when things coming down. We do have lots more competition. I checked this morning and there are 45 pools in the Portland area, of which 30 are closed for the winter. So 15 pools through the winter is a lot more than it was last year. So it'll be interesting to see. There has been a big drop off in bookings for me this month. So we'll see what happens. I've had a number of challenges with the platform. I've been one of the biggest Swimply criticizers. And it's very understandable, young company, not a great set of software developers. You can tell overseas that didn't necessarily really know what they're doing and didn't have a strong QA program. I'm a software developer, so I totally understand, but incredibly frustrating for a high volume person like myself, especially when I have a CRM system that's different and I rely on the two being in sync at all times. And that's really difficult to do. Liability. So I'm constantly up at night worrying about liability. And it's really nice that we now have our $1 million policy. That is wonderful. And fortunately, knock on wood, I have only had one person fall on the stairs in a slippery, icy situation. She was fine. And somebody drove over one of my prized plants. And that's it. That's all I've ever had. There have been a number of times when kids will fall or whatever. It's like, cry a little bit, get up, and they're fine. So fortunately, nothing major. It's been wonderful in that perspective, but it does definitely worry me. And my homeowner insurance company hasn't mentioned anything, and I haven't mentioned anything to them. They don't know that I have this. And when they find out, I imagine they're going to cancel my policy, or they're going to say you're going to be denied on a claim, and then I will have to find somebody else. And so I'll probably go with a high net worth policy at that point, which has more unlimited umbrella liability, but it's going to cost an arm and a leg. And then the last bullet, I can't see there, your taskbar. Let me see, I got the agenda here.
It's not
but it's
easy.
not easy. This is not easy, but it's good. So the next slide, operating through the winter. So some of the things in the winter in particular is that the weather can be a challenge. Lots of rescheduling, you just have to be flexible. Power goes out, accommodate that. The nice thing about the setup of my pool is that we do have a in-pool spa. And so the kids can be playing in the pool part at 90 degrees. The parents can be in the spa at 104 and loving life and being able to be, within 3 feet of their kids if they need any help, that kind of thing. So it really works out well for families with that kind of setup. We do have a heated pool house bathroom that is separate from the house. So, free access for them. They don't have any concerns around traipsing into people's houses, that kind of thing. There is both a fancy patio heater and a heater in the bathroom. We have a new umbrella that goes over the entire spa, 8 by 12 feet, and covers all that for the rainy season. So that helps. When it does get down freezing and below, I always have to go through and grab warm water out of the pool with a bucket and splash it around the pool deck to melt any residual ice. And I don't charge for the 90 degrees, like I said, but that means I have a $1,000 gas bill. So in order to make that cost effective, I need the bookings. And so far, it's just barely penciling out. So we're going to have to see how that goes with all the competition going on in the Portland area. And finally, the financial reward. So it's been wonderful. I've made a ton of money. So my total gross to date, almost 130,000. I only have about $1,200 of future bookings right now. Expenses to date have been substantial, and I attribute some of those to the extra load of Swimply, but a lot of that is just normal wear and tear on a pool that costs a lot to maintain a pool, as you guys all know. And so in between the maintenance, repairs, and general supplies, chemicals, gas, electricity to run the pumps, all that stuff, I estimate almost $28,000 over the last 14 months. So my net is around $101,000, which is about $7,200 a month. It's a lot of money. My average dollar gross per booking is $104. My top week was almost $5,000. So there's my income by month. And as you can see, the number of bookings in the last couple months has dropped off significantly from those first 2 months of my Swimply experience. So we'll see how that goes going forward. But with all that money, I've done lots of improvements. I put an outdoor shower, a ramp, got a little transport cart, changing tent, a real fancy patio heater, some new lighting, a new heater, a generator, new toy, lots and lots of new toys constantly. Amazon shows up on my door almost every day. Some real expensive enzymes to help with the bioorganics, and some real fancy candles that we put out in the evenings, which is really magical. We put just candles everywhere in some acrylic candle holders, and it makes for a nice environment. And then, of course, the biggest reward is the priceless making families happy. It actually does warm me. I really love seeing the families just say, oh, that was the best experience of my life, or whatever. You know, they come out for a birthday party, best birthday party ever. It's really nice. I like that a lot. So those are my presentation slides, and now some questions. So with larger parties, how do you handle alcohol consumption? Yeah, fortunately, very responsible guests. It has been very nice that I get the kind of people I get. And it's fairly common for people to bring in a couple bottles of wine. And as soon as I see that, I always peek out the window or look at the video camera. I've got a huge monitor in my office where I can watch the feed and see what's going on. And as soon as I see a bottle of wine come out, I rush out with a bottle opener and some plastic glasses and say, oh, I see you brought wine. That's great. Do you need plastic glasses so you can sit by the pool? Or do you need a bottle opener, that kind of thing? So at least they know that I know that they have alcohol involved. And like I said, 95% of them very responsible with it. They don't get drunk. I have had some horror stories, though, of people getting very drunk and getting very dangerous. There was one person who was throwing their kid into the pool without even looking. It was pick up the kid and throw it in the pool. And I had to put a stop to it. It was just very upsetting. But that's very few and far between. And so that's another reason why I always say, how was your visit at the end? I kind of gauge their sobriety and make sure that things look good. I've never had to intervene or call the police or anything. And I, haven't had, besides my plant, which I think was just, it was so dark out, never had an incident, but it is something that I worry about. And I do now have on my listing in my rules section, no intoxication. So people always send me a note and say, well, what does that mean? Does that mean I can bring alcohol? And I say, well, yeah, you can. Even though the liability insurance does not cover alcohol, we have to be very careful about that as hosts. I'm a little bit lenient on it because, like I said, most people are quite nice about it. Next question. How do you screen customers? I don't look at swimmer reviews too often, but I have had a couple times when something will pique my interest. As you know, as hosts, we almost all get all 5-star reviews. The Swimply experience is wonderful for people. And so it's pretty rare that a person would get less than a 5-star review. And very similar on the swimming reviews. It was eye-opening when I learned that the swimmers don't see their own reviews. And I have had the thought of, well, I'm going to rate them poorly or whatever, but it's been difficult for me to do that just given the volume. I just can't do that often enough. So I do look at them. Sometimes I always look at their bio and just see what their interest is or what their job is, or just to kind of gauge the kind of person they are and just try to learn more about them as they come. So generally, I never reject somebody straight off when they do a booking. I always do an instant book. I always bring them in and let them do one visit and just see how it goes. And there are 2 people where I have explicitly disinvited them back, but the rest of them haven't had any issues. Next question. How are we doing on time anyway? 38 minutes. Okay. How do you find the perfect price? Sorry?
You are doing great. Just a couple more questions and we'll roll into Q&A. Perfect timing. Thank you.
Perfect price for the pool. Yeah, I started out at $30 an hour and felt like, oh man, that's a lot of money. But right away got lots of bookings. So after a couple weeks, went up to 45. Still got lots of bookings, got up to 60. 60 was my magic point for a long time, for months. And then during the summer, I forget when, I went up to 75 thinking, can I get 75? And it wasn't the greatest experience. I did get a few, but I saw a market decrease in my bookings. So now I'm at 80 with a midweek $64. And so that works out fairly well. I did look at my market positioning, and there are 5 out of the 15 pools that are open for the winter that are priced higher than me. There's one that's at $120 an hour, which is amazing. I haven't visited that pool yet. I'm going to go check it out. And then there are a number that are just above ground pools, you know, with a little deck around them. And in fact, one of them I think is unheated, and they're charging $45 an hour. So it's like, well, 65 to $80 an hour sounds very reasonable. So it is something that I look at often enough. I have wanted to naturally decrease the demand by increasing the price over the last couple months, just because my life has been crazy. But I'm going to look at it again in another month or so and see if I want to come down again to get more volume, because like I said, the natural gas cost is very high. Next slide. Multiple time slots. So yeah, I'm going to be an expert on multiple time slots. It's actually a very quiet day when there's just one booking that day, and it's usually 4 to 6 all through the summer, which can get very crazy. So 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is when we're open every day except Monday. And it's generally booked that whole time. So I do lots of squeeze visits, and that is, again, challenging because the platform doesn't allow squeeze visits very well. And so I have to work customer service, and some of those folks don't know how to do squeezes very well. And so I usually try to work with a couple CS reps that are very good about doing that kind of thing. But of course, it turns out weird on the platform. If I'm trying to do something from 4:30 to 6:30, it shows up as 4 to 6. And then there's confusion on the swimmer side about whether they are supposed to come at 4:30, et cetera. So there's just a lot of back and forth. And then if they want to change it, then it goes to like 5 to 6, and then nobody knows when they're really supposed to come. So anyway, that'll get better over time. Efficient turnaround is just have 2 people working on it. So Lisa and I go out there as soon as they leave, and we just a flurry of activity. And you know, I'm scooping stuff out of the pool and checking chemistry. I check chemistry like 2 to 5 times a day. It's just crazy because with the volume, it really changes pH quickly. And then equipment furniture placement and all that kind of stuff. It takes a long time to turn a pool. Next question. What caused your success? 90 degrees caused my success. Really seemed to help, and it is very expensive, but fortunately for me, as you saw from my numbers, it worked out. It was still very lucrative to do that. So I can't just heat the pool when I get a booking, because I have a instant book with a 3-hour lead time. So right now somebody could book for 5 p.m. today, and my pool has to be ready. So I can't just fire up the heater at that point. So it's got to be 90 right now, and that's what it is. So I run it all the time. In fact, this week I have no bookings Monday through Friday, none. But the pool's sitting out there at 90 degrees right now, wasting energy. It's very unfortunate. So we'll see how that goes. Next. How has your winter listing been? Oh, so this is Lauren.
Sorry, I'll interject here, Jim. I didn't put a break between the two. These are some lead questions. Should we have time for the breakout rooms at the end? But I think, let me just start by saying that was absolutely excellent. I've heard from Jim so much, and I still picked up a ton of incredible tidbits I've jotted down. I know I have questions for you, but I'd love first to kind of turn it back to our fellow hosts here. Thank you guys for listening along. We'll open the floor now for any questions that you guys might have for Jim based on the webinar today.
Yeah, so maybe I should go through the chat ones because there are quite a few in there, 16 or so.
Sure,
How do you get a Swimply photographer? You probably just contact Host Care. It's probably only for the bigger volume pools, I'm guessing. How did I take off the 3-star review? Basically just worked with James and he did his magic. I would love to know, because I'd found a bug in the platform, it was saying that my average star rating was 3.2 or something. And he said, well, let's try to take out this 3-star review and see if it comes back to 5 or 4.999 or whatever that it should have been. And it turns out that fixed the bug. How you took off the, that's 3-star review. If you think the review is unfair, yeah. How many sets of filters do you keep handy? Yeah, so I have a 4 cartridge filter, large CCP 420s. And I keep a spare set that are $320. And so when I do my changeover, I clean my filter every 4 days during the summertime, and it's like a 2-hour process. And that's with having the spares there. So, I go and shut everything down, clean all the skimmers, the pump baskets, pull out the filters, do a pressure washing on those, put in the new ones, rebalance everything, get the heat back up to speed. It's a lot of work. But I would definitely recommend a set of separate filters that you can have there, unless you have, time blocked out on your calendar where you can spend 4 hours doing all that and getting it all put back together. What happened with the fall? I was actually on the deck when she fell, and she wasn't holding the handrail, and she was walking down a set of 4 wood stairs and just slipped on ice and landed on her rear. And she was down for 15 seconds, but then she got up and said, "Don't worry about it, it's fine." So we didn't have any claim or anything. But the next day I went out there and put in tread tape, and I boosted up the handrail, and I put 2 signs on both sides of it saying very slippery, all that good stuff. I constantly spend my time looking at all liability potentials. Look at every single thing out there. Could this be sharp? Could this be slippery? Could this be damaging? Could this be dangerous? And I mitigate it. Any discussion municipality? No. So Clackamas County, I hear from a fellow Swimply host that they are starting to crack down. So we'll see what comes when they come knocking on my door. To me, it is very much a commercial enterprise because I have such volume, and it's quasi-commercial because it's not a real company, and it's not like a paid ticket taker at the door, that kind of thing. But it is kind of operating as a commercial pool. So I could see how they would want to regulate it because they are relying on me as the health agency that I keep my stuff in balance, because it's corrosive stuff. If you're dealing with muriatic acid, that can be very dangerous. And so I could harm people easily if stuff gets out of balance, and that worries me. And I have a huge responsibility to do the right thing. So I can see why, for the people that aren't as diligent about learning about trichloramines and everything else involved in pool chemistry, that there could be dangerous operators out there, just like there are in Uber and everything else in the world. You have to worry about that kind of thing. Swimply working to better understand the insurance. Yeah, I'll let James and Lauren talk about that. Electric pool heaters, no, that would be weird. We cook with gas here in Oregon. Did you build your outdoor bathroom specifically for guests? No, this was built 8 years ago, and it's an incredibly small bathroom. It doesn't have an indoor shower. We put in an outdoor shower. And so if I would have redone it, if I would redo it, I would put in like a 400 square foot pool bathroom, and that would cost a lot. I just had an artist studio built with some of my Swimply earnings, and that was a $45,000 thing for the same size space. It was during the peak of building prices on outdoor separate pool house. Yeah, really nice. Love it. How much it costs? My pool was 110 grand, and I probably put another 30 grand of enhancements in it over the years. And then maintenance, like I said, about 30 grand. Swimply platform automatically instant hour break. Yeah, it does. What's your favorite brand of enzymes? I forget the brand name. CV400 is the model number. Just look for enzyme CV400. It's like 6 characters. I forget the name. Very expensive, so like $100 a gallon. This was terrific. Thank you. Any tips for parking? Yeah, so I've got a big estate. I've got room for about 18 cars. So, and then if I needed, I could open up the pasture and put another 40 cars on it easily. So no problem there. And nobody has to be on the street, which is good because it's a busy street. Incredibly interested talking to the group of hosts, see if we could use a Tesla. So, wow, cool. I'll let somebody else talk about that, but that's a cool idea. Do my listing feature exactly very accessible standalone bathroom? Yeah, kind of. With the ramp involved, it's not an ADA ramp per spec. Somebody with a wheelchair can get up it and get into the bathroom without any issues. So I would say I'm quasi ADA compliant. And I do have a number of people in assistive strollers, I guess they are, for young at-risk kids. And that works great for them. So what are the questions from the floor?
Awesome, guys. We have 10 minutes. Would love to hear from you guys. Of course, I have a couple questions, but please, anyone. I guess maybe, Jim, I'll start really quickly. And hearing you talk numbers and bookings, I love that you kind of work with the free reschedules for your guests. Because you are so booked, does that become a challenge? Even if it's in pure weather related, right? Hail, whatever the issue may be. Do you have the time to get them back in your calendar?
I do now. During the summertime, it's very difficult. And that's why I ended up with so many squeeze appointments, because if I have a 2-hour gap, because of the way people block stuff out and because of the 1-hour gap that Swimply enforces, I usually have a 2-hour window on the half hours. And so it's really easy to squeeze people in that just had a 1-hour booking to reschedule. Those are easy to get in. 2-hour booking and 3 hours are much more difficult. And so there were a couple times when people had to wait about 3 or 4 weeks to be able to get in. But they understand that it's a busy pool, it's a nice pool, they like it. So, you know, and there's lots of other choices around the area if they really need to swim.
I know it's hard to find.
I see Maggie is raising her hand. So Maggie, you have a question?
Hi, yeah, I'm at the grocery store listening to you, and I'm like listening to every word you say. Can you talk about those squeeze appointments? Because with the 1 hour sanitary or sanitation break that we get, sometimes I'll get somebody that books for an hour, and then I have an hour that I need to clean, and then I'll have somebody that I'll book for like 2 hours, like 2 or 3 hours later. So how do I get that squeeze?
Well, one, you get really good. So you do 1,200 bookings and you become very efficient with how you just race around the area, putting everything away, getting everything organized, straightened up, cleaned, you know, pressure wash the deck again, and, you know, sanitize the bathroom, blah, blah, blah. Check your chemistry. It's a very hectic time, but it's always worked out for me. There have been probably a handful of times when I've had to run out to the driveway and say, can you hold on a sec? I got, you know, or I'll say to Lisa, hey, go show them a couple barn animals. And then they'll go out to the barn and they'll come back 15 minutes later, and then I'll be ready for them. But everybody's been good about it. Nobody has ever said, hey, I'm supposed to start at 10 o'clock. You know, where's my pool? So it's always worked out.
Or the other side of it, I'll say, is, you know, if my guests are very cool, maybe they end at 6 p.m. I might go out at 5:40 and say, hey, do you mind if I close the bathroom off in the next 10 minutes? Go one more time. I just want to start cleaning it for the next guest. But that's if you have cool and flexible guests in that case.
Yeah, there have been a couple scheduling issues related to how I had blocked out times, and then people were able to do a back-to-back with the block, and the block was because of a reschedule. And so then I did end up with back-to-backs, and those are just impossibly crazy. So avoid them at all costs.
Jim, I just see in the chat, someone asked about taxes. Interesting question. Do you file as a small business? And I don't know if they're maybe asking if you kind of expense some of this stuff, but someone asked about taxes, how you file, if you're open to answering that.
Yeah, so I do declare the income, and I did get a 1099, so I put that in there. And I do have two small companies already, a startup that I'm CEO of, and then also our farm business is does have to do Schedule F file. All the Swimply stuff for last year, I had income, I forget what it was, 80, $70,000, something like that. Anyway, just included in the 1099 miscellaneous column, paid taxes on it. I didn't include that as part of my expenses when I was showing you guys my figures, but yeah, that was a few $1,000s right there. But no, I've always thought about incorporating the pool, but it's kind of complicated because it's really part of the house. So then you have to incorporate the whole property, and then it just gets really kind of messy.
Got it.
I don't advertise on social media. Do you do anything to incentivize word of mouth? Not really, no. Just my usual conversations with the folks as they're leaving, hey, how'd you like it? And then they'll mention something, well, we had a birthday party and it was great. And then somebody with them will say, hey, and I want to book my family to come out. And so then there's just that kind of, the moms organizations around here are very powerful. And so, anything you do to make the moms happy is good for you, because then they will talk to each other and they'll say, hey, go check out Paradise. So definitely recommend that. Can anything be done about the 1 hour automatic break between clients? Yeah, that's a very common, that was a direct message to me. You can work around that by doing the squeeze if you work with Ren or what's her name, the Russian. Anyway, there are a few people. Yeah, if you work with some of the people, they really know how to do that kind of thing. Some of them don't, and so yeah, you just have to explain to them what you're trying to do and get it set up, and then just keep the communication with the customer so they understand that if they're looking at their phone, it says 4 o'clock, it doesn't mean 4 o'clock. Do you think longer bookings would help or hurt? I would love to do a 2 hour minimum booking. I haven't yet. And my wife would almost required it a few months ago. It's like, this is getting ridiculous, cleaning the bathroom six times a day. And I said, I know, honey, but just, that money is just great. So, yeah, I would love to do that, especially if there was a flexibility around the month you could do that. So you could say, June through August was a 2 hour minimum, but the rest of them are 1 hour minimum, that kind of thing. So any kind of flexibility in the scheduling on the app side would be wonderful. And Han, everybody knows about that. Will you be able to buy Swimply yard signs? Yes, there is going to be a Swimply store, I hear, at some point for swag. Oh, yeah, Ha said that. Okay, what other questions?
Any other questions for Jim? This is your chance, guys. This is a chance to speak to the expert. After this, you only get me and Lauren that you can ask questions to.
All I know is that one takeaway for me, Jim said Amazon's almost at his door every day. That is the excuse I will use with my significant other. Amazon is here every day, babe, because I manage the pool. That's why.
Yes. Oh, Orenda, that's their name, the enzyme company. ORENDA. Yeah. That's 5 characters. Another chat.
If you guys are sure you don't have any questions in these last 2 minutes.
Trampolines. So trampoline is another secret weapon that I didn't say. And I have a trampoline right next to my pool. It's a spring free. It's a very safe trampoline. It's an incredibly nice trampoline. If you're going to buy one, buy a spring free. But it is not covered. In fact, it's explicitly discovered by the T's and C's of Swimply. So I am technically in violation. But it is a wonderful thing because the parents love to throw their kids on it and have them jump up and down while the parents are gathering up everything. And it's so nice to be able to have them do that rather than standing right next to an open pool. and having the poor parent worry that they're going to fall in.
This is an interesting question. Do you offer custom pricing for parties who request it? If people say, oh, can I get a discount? I'm coming with this amount of people.
Yeah, I always just say, no, I'm sorry, because the rules of Swimply say I can't do that. So I always just stick with my pricing. I have a number of people that want to bring 22 people and they say, there's no way I can afford $700. It's like, dude, if you want to come, you're going to pay $700. So, I always just say, no, insurance purposes requires everybody to be paid for in order to cover the liability, all that good stuff. And so I have had a few people go somewhere else that's cheaper. And I certainly understand that that's a lot of money to spend a couple hours, but it's the kids. You got to do what's right for the kids, right? You can add the other amenity. Yeah, that's what a number of people do. They say party package for 20 people at a birthday or whatever is a flat rate of $700 or something.
Did you answer that, Jim? I always wonder how folks with big parties count the guests. Do you count?
No, I do count. So after everybody shows up and, the cars are all in the driveway here and I'm looking at the monitor, it looks like everybody's settled in. Then I do a count and I compare that to my little CRM thing that says I'm supposed to have 4 adults and 6 kids. And I'm seeing 7 adults and 9 kids. And I always go out there and say, oh, hey, I was thinking you're going to have 4 and 6. Oh, well, oh gosh, I tried, or the app wasn't working, or, oh yeah, I was really busy, or, the last minute, my next door neighbor said they wanted to come or whatever. Oh, well, that'll be $10 per person per hour above 5. What? Well, yeah, that's how it works. Here, let me show you on the app. And that'll be, the total fee is another $120. I know that's a lot of money, but that's really what it takes. Oh, well, okay. And so it always works out, almost always works out that it's like, they hate it, but they pay the extra money. And so we typically do the email to host care and say, hey, always get in the chat that, hey, I see you brought this number of people, and then have the swimmer confirm, yes, I brought that number of people. And then you can email host care and say, go look at our chat, charge them an extra $120. That's what host care does. And that works out really well. Venmo never happens. Stop laughing there, Rick. I see you.
And guys, shameless plug. I always mention we do have the Facebook group, the official Host Swimply community. We also have one specific to Canada. Jim is a member of the main official community there, reading along, answering great questions, giving great feedback. One last push for any final burning questions we haven't answered. Okay.
We need some host convertible offer templates that we can toggle on off as needed so we can customize on a large and quick scale. Yeah. Steve's got some big picture ideas. Does Swimply insurance cover use of toys? I don't know. That's a hot question, I guess. Probably not.
But toys are okay as long as it's not the swings and the trampolines.
Okay.
Thank you, Swimply, for being supportive. Yes, I will agree. So, like I said, I've been a big criticizer of Swimply just because it's a startup and they don't have as many resources as I would expect, given my high expectations as a high volume host. But they do a wonderful job, and I really appreciate all that they do. Not only, Ha's been great for me. Bunham came up and visited me personally, and Lauren and James doing these regular seminars has been great. The Facebook group is wonderful. And the most important is the customer service team. They are just incredible, very good, very fast, very thorough, very polite. They get the job done. They overcome so many of the gaps on the platform that it's just great. So thank you to Ren and her team and what's his name? The other guy that was up here.
Chris. Oh. Here? Is it Chris?
Guy with the tattoos that jumped in the pool here in Portland. Ha remembers.
Oh, Slater? Maybe?
Slater. Anyway, the whole customer service team is just great. Really appreciate it.
That's awesome. Thank you, Jim. Just, on behalf of Swimply, on behalf of all the hosts that are on this call, I think this is the highest attendance we've had on the webinar in some time. And obviously it's because people were very eager and excited and interested to hear from you as a top earning host. As Jim mentioned, he is forthright with offering suggestions and enhancements for us, but that is exactly what we need. We appreciate it. It's allowed for us to build a family nature with Jim as a host. I do want to thank everyone for participating today. We will continue to have periodic webinars, and maybe even perhaps we'll tap some additional top earning hosts to give added insight, added feedback. I think with that, anything from you, James, before we?
I would say thank you so much, Jim. First of all, that was really awesome. As always, I learned a ton, just again and again, keep learning. And yeah, as Lauren said, this conversation continues on the Facebook group. It's where we can keep learning from top hosts like Jim and many other top hosts. And I love this, and I love that idea, Lauren, to maybe do this, to keep doing this. So guys, let us know I think we sent out a survey. Let us know if you want to do some more of these with other top hosts, to hear different hosts from different areas, how they succeeded and tips from them. And we can look to do this more often.
All right. Awesome. All right, guys. James, do we want to leave this open for hosts to hang out, or can we do that if they want to stay on and continue chatting?
Sure.
I have time if anybody wants.
I think if you guys want, I do have to drop. I have a meeting, but if you guys want, we could leave this. We have to make someone a host. So Jim, can we make you a host?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's and yeah, you guys can just hang out and chat. Okay, Jim, you are the host. Enjoy, guys.
Bye, guys. Thank
So
you.
much. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks everyone for joining.
Everybody's on mute.
Hi, can I ask you or ask the community a question? I'm in Los Angeles and I have a pool, but I do not have a bathroom accessible to my guests. And I've still been able to get a lot of folks here, but I just limit them to 1 or 2 hours. I'm wondering maybe what strategies I could employ to boost my business other than a bathroom, which I'm going to be building within the next 12 months. Thanks.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit of discussion about that on the Facebook group. You can go back and look at the archives in terms of porta potties, and they can get a little expensive to get the nice ones, and it is kind of a weird situation, but it's better than nothing. And there are, of course, a number of people that allow the guests to come into their home and use their bathroom, but that can also be kind of awkward. And so, yeah, the sooner you can get a bathroom built, probably the better. Hopefully you guys aren't on forced mute. Let's see if I can unmute people. No, it looks like you're on.
Hey, Jim, Seth Hansen here. What percentage of your clients are repeat clients?
Quite a few of them are repeat clients. I don't have the stats, but it's probably 50-50 lately. And I have, like I said, 2 customers that are probably up in the 30 to 40 bookings range. They just love it. They come at least once or twice a week. And lots of families that are repeats about every 2 to 4 months. And then just a number of repeats that are just with different people. You know, they'll come with their friends once and then they'll bring the family next time, or vice versa. So about 50%. I always send an email to them after they do a first booking. And that's, of course, where my little CRM comes in handy. And I always say, hey, welcome to Paradise. Thank you for booking. We're looking forward to it. Let me know if you have any questions. Please make sure you keep the number of attendees accurate and updated. And let me know if you have any questions. And so I usually get, a number of stupid questions, real intro to Swimply kind of questions. And then a number of specific ones like, hey, we're going to be 20 minutes late or whatever, that kind of thing.
Do you do an email once people leave? Like, I just thought about, my database basically consists of all my previous users, right? Do you do anything with that information? I mean, do you send reminders out to folks or anything like that?
No, I generally don't pester people except when it's directly related to a current booking. And so, yeah, there have been a number of times when other hosts have said, well, I'm going to send out an impromptu to my top 20 swimmers and give them a discount code or whatever. And I just haven't taken the time to do that. My volume has been high enough where I haven't had time to or the need to. But you could. I don't think there's anything prohibiting that. I imagine you would probably want to say, let me know if I'm bugging you and I'll not bug you.
Thank you. I'm going to peel out.
All right. Take care, Maggie. Any other questions from the rest of you?
Yeah, I have a question. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
Sorry, Seth. Jim, I have a question. If you were to build another property, I guess it depends really on where you're located. So I think you're in Portland, right? Sorry, I missed it. Would you heat your deck? Like put a glycol heating system in the deck? Because I think it'd be a hell of a lot safer. No falls. It would save you a headache beyond. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really cool. It's a big property with a big deck and big pool deck and all, on and on. And so that would be quite expensive and I'd have to worry about that. But boy, I would love that. That would be really nice.
I have a friend who did it. He's not on Swimply. He has a huge pool, but I'm in Toronto. So until December, which is ridiculous. It's dry as a bell on the deck, warm to your feet, and the pool's at 88 constantly. It's crazy. A lot of energy though. He's burning out energy at that time.
Keeping the gas company in business.
Oh yeah. I'm convinced that the energy consumption on this stuff, as it gets, people are becoming more tuned into luxury. They love the feel. I mean, they're in your house because they don't have one. Bottom line, or my house, they don't have one. And if we want to give them that quote 4 seasons experience, got to pay for it, to your point. So that's why I keep asking these questions. There's got to be a solution for generating energy needs, whether they be gas, gas, or natural gas, liquid natural gas, or electricity. There's got to be a better way than what we're doing right now, because it's really not efficient. It's stupid, actually.
Yeah, I got 3 quotes from solar companies last year for my property. My neighbor across the street has a 7,000 square foot solar install, and he gives back to the power company for his 35 acres. And so that's a really great solution, but he's got a he's got a south-facing building and lots of real estate to put the solar stuff on, and it was like a $250,000 install. So very rich guy, he can afford that kind of thing. So yeah, that really works out well. But for me, it was 110 grand, and they had just little pieces of solar on various parts of the house, or they wanted to build a freestanding solar structure out on the front pasture, which would look terrible, and it just wasn't going to work for me.
Yeah, so a friend of mine, he built a house in Malaga in Spain, and he's got a quasi self-generating system. So he just got back recently, so I have to meet with him. But he spent he's an engineer by education and vocation. He spent a lot of time on it, but it sounds quite interesting to the point where I want to look into it.
There's a really cool YouTube channel. I don't remember the name of the guy, but he does all self-sufficiency stuff, and just amazing what he set up to be able to take care of all of his needs.
And it sounds like you're on acreage, yeah? Like I didn't hear the beginning. I'm sorry. You're on,
2 acres.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in a very dense urban area, like super dense core city urban area.
Yeah.
And I only have problems once in a while. So I don't call it 100 bookings or whatever. I have 100%. I probably have about 3% where I've got people who loiter in front of my property, and it's really bloody annoying. Like it's gross actually. So uncouth.
Yeah.
I don't know. You haven't had to deal with that much, it sounds like, because people are sort of self-contained on your property.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reason for anybody to be around unless they're coming here. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's only about 3 miles from the city, but it's very much country kind of environment.
Yeah,
So
no, that's good. Lucky. You're a lucky guy in that respect.
I'm a very lucky guy, let me tell you.
You should come for one of our winters. You'll see how lucky you are.
No, I grew up in Denver and that was bad enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole Toronto and Buffalo area. Oh my gosh, unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, look, I've shut down now because at night it's well, sorry, it's that's Celsius. So we're talking under, maybe 30 to 40 degrees maximum Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
It's
I had a good friend in Bemidji, upper part of Minnesota.
Yeah.
You always look out our window. Oh, it's 30 below right now.
I have a pool house, right? It's tethered to the main house with, running water and all that and wastewater. I can't unless I'm going to start heating the thing properly. And it makes no sense. The energy consumption is massive.
Yep.
Jim, have you ever considered trying to cater more to just large groups? So a little background, I'm on acreage as well. I'm on 20 acres near Sacramento. And our pool is pretty big. It's about 75,000 gallons, 25 by 50. And then we have a 10 by 15 hot tub, so we can accommodate a lot of people. And I find that I like the parties, the big parties, 30, 40, 50 people a lot better because they tend to stay all day long. And then I get my per capita charge. So it ends up being, 700, 800, $1,000 for one day versus, 3, 4, 5, 6
bits and pieces
long,
here and there.
Yeah. So have you given thought to how to
I've tried to encourage
like
that. My wife wanted to cap out at 22 people, and so that's what our max is right now. But yeah, the big parties do make a lot of sense. And there's a host down in Corona, California, who's on the Facebook group, and she does that. She has a very large pool and large property, and she typically hosts corporate events. She does it, illegally through what's it called, Pure Space, through some other booking things, and that's how she gets her corporate events. But yeah, that's like a $2,400 visit kind of thing. And so that can be really effective. But for some reason, I've never had anybody reach out saying, well, we want to have our corporate party here or anything like that. It's always just been small families and such, but I'd be open to it. It's just a relatively small pool. And
Beth, I had a couple of smaller businesses in the fall here, which you guys are, well, certainly you're lucky in California, but they just needed a change of scenery completely. And I have like a pretty big covered area that's got lights in the roof part of it with seating for, I think, 15 people, like good seating for 15 people.
Yeah.
The pool right behind it and lights and all that. And that, I mean, I remember one of the women who came, she's like, I don't know, there was like 8 of them. She owns a financial planning. She just needed a complete change of scenery, complete, like an overhaul visually. And they liked it. It wasn't even that warm that day, but she was happier than happy. So it was great. So if you maybe some of the small business groups in your area, I'm thinking what I would do if I wanted it, and you have a great facility, you may want to talk to them, say, all these venues with indoor places, have you thought about doing something outdoor? Here I am.
Right.
Like Chamber of Commerce or Better
Chamber of
Business.
Commerce. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Other event planning organizations, you can get your name out there through that. Or
and party planners, right? The space planning,
Yeah.
the event planners, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, great ideas.
And then you probably need an Instagram account for the place.
Yeah, I talk to my wife on that. I'm not great on Instagram and stuff.
The Toronto municipal councilors here, they're gonna they're gonna do what they did to Airbnb. They're gonna crack down on this. I have a feeling by next summer, there's gonna be a whole bunch of people, because these few people that
Yeah.
put their arms up seem to get too much airtime. I hate it.
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel like a big crackdown is coming here around our area too. And I think some of it's justifiable, like I said, but it's not going to be pretty.
Nope. I think it's gonna be difficult because they're probably gonna want
Oh,
to
yeah.
tax it somehow.
Yeah, and the whole insurance thing is definitely something else that's going to bite
You
you one way or
avoiding
the
your
other.
insurance company, Jim?
Yeah. Don't tell.
Like, I have a really stupid question for you, Seth, and you, Jim, and whoever else is on. Feel free to jump on. But are any of you people truly worried that someone can fall and bust their neck or dislocate their shoulder or what may have you, and what that outcome will be like?
Yeah. Yeah, I worry about it all the time. And there is section 6.2 of the T's and C's that says this is a risky thing and it's on you that you're accepting all this liability, et cetera. But, and there is the $1 million insurance policy, but people sue left and right for very small things. And if indeed you had like a dislocated shoulder or something, you could have a big claim. Put somebody out of work or whatever, because, it's a pool deck and it's going to be slippery and they're going to fall. And it's not necessarily your liability, but juries out there these days, they're liable to vote for the victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's dangerous. I've got a smoking gun on my hand.
The other option, Jim, is just superheat the patio, get some really dark stones. So
yeah.
So damn hot, they won't want to be on that patio running around.
That's why I watch my security camera like a hawk when I see people doing things that are explicitly in my rules. I run out there right away and say, excuse me, please don't do that.
Yeah.
But for myself, I have large, gathering of friends and family as it is. When people are drinking, we have 4th of July parties for ourselves and stuff like that. So if something's going to happen, it's 10 times more likely to happen during a personal event than it is at one of my hosted events. And so I just look at it like that. And that's just part of the risk I accepted when we purchased the property, and we knew we were going to want to have friends and family over as much as we could. And just kind of, extension, we don't, allow, drinking or anything else like that for hosted events. So.
Yeah, in the comments section of my Wall Street Journal article, it was interesting that a number of lawyers saying, I wouldn't touch this thing with a 10-foot pole. So I think about that all the time.
It'd be one thing if we allowed trampolines and things like that, but I think with the policy there, and I think people assume a certain amount, I think there's an inherent risk that they take when they go to a pool, or if they go to a river or a lake or anything. I think it's just, as long as you're not negligent in putting.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why I'm always thinking about, am I negligent on anything that I'm doing? And every day I think, well, what can I do to prevent this rock from being right there? I think I should move over here so nobody will follow her. All right, what time is it? Well, it's 4:22. I think I'm gonna close up shop here. It's good talking to you all. If you join the Facebook Facebook group and want to ping me on there, I'm happy to chat more about it. If you have any other questions.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate the insight, really.
Yeah, sure thing. Take care.
You too. Be well.
Bye.